I am 86 years old, and honestly, I can't remember the last time I was sick. I don't have pill organizers on my nightstand, I don't take daily medications, and I haven't visited a hospital in many, many years. Some people think I'm exaggerating. Others simply don't believe me. They say that at my age that's impossible, that I must be hiding something. But the truth is, there's no trick, no privileged genetics, no magic potion. What there is a way of living. Throughout my life, I've realized something that not many want to accept. We don't age all at once. We don't fall ill overnight. Our body talks to us, gives us signs, asks for help or rest. The problem is most people don't listen. Or worse, they listen but change nothing. And I did listen. Not always, of course. I made mistakes, neglected myself, believed I was invincible in my youth. But when I reached a certain age, I understood that if I wanted to go far, I had to start walking differently. No more rushing, no more autopilot. And that, believe me, changed everything. Today I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. But don't expect extreme diets or miracle remedies. You won't hear that I bathe in cold water every day or that I only eat green leaves. No. What you will discover here goes far beyond the body. It has to do with your way of thinking, your way of relating to the world, and yourself. At 86 years old, I feel more alive than ever. Not because I don't have pain, not because everything works perfectly, but because I've learned to care for what truly matters. And if you're watching this video, maybe you're also searching for an answer. A guide. Inspiration. So stay with me, because I'm going to tell you step by step what has been my real secret to living so many years with health, clarity, and enthusiasm. But before continuing, I'd like to know something about you. How old are you? And from which country are you watching this video? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to read you. Secret 1. How you wake up in the morning defines your day and your health. I'm going to tell you something that took me many years to understand. The way you start your day determines how you will live it and how you will age. For me, mornings are sacred. Not because they're peaceful, but because they're the only moment when the world hasn't yet put its weight on your shoulders. And if you don't care for that instant, the rest of the day slips away like a stone rolling downhill. I wake up early, always, but not hurriedly. I open my eyes and stay silent for a few minutes. I stretch a little while, still in bed, breathe deeply, and ask myself one question. How do I feel today? Not how the world is, not what's in the news. No. How am I? Because if you don't check yourself inside, you can't care for what you carry outside. Then, I get up slowly. I stretch my neck, shoulders, legs. I don't do yoga or follow a method. I just move with respect. Because this body has carried me for more than 8 decades, and it deserves patience, not mistreatment. I walk a little around the house, prepare a glass of warm water with lemon, a habit I adopted years ago, and open the window. I look at the sky, even if it's cloudy. I like to remind myself there is life out there, beyond my door. And before speaking to anyone, before checking papers or turning on the TV, I give thanks, sometimes out loud, sometimes in silence, for being alive, for feeling my legs, for hearing the birds. Simple but powerful gratitude. And here comes one of the decisions that changed my health the most. I stopped starting the day watching the news. For many years, the first thing I did was turn on the TV. And there it was, a parade of tragedies, arguments, corruption, fights, deaths. It filled me with anxiety before I even had breakfast. And do you know what happened? My body tensed. I got headaches. I became more irritable. I slept worse. Until one day I said, no more. That single change, I swear, gave me years of life back. Because the mental state with which you start your day affects your body. It's not mystical, it's science. When you wake up and the first thing you do is worry, your body sounds alarms, Cortisol rises, immunity drops, blood pressure fluctuates. You start living defensively. And how can you be healthy if your body thinks it's living in war? But if instead you wake up calmly, with gratitude, with gentle movement, your immune system responds differently. Inflammation regulates. You sleep better the next night. You eat more consciously. You make better decisions. It's not magic. It's the connection between body and mind. Something many doctors still can't explain, but anyone who's lived many years knows it's real. And here's a truth rarely spoken. Most older people don't get sick from a virus or bacteria. They get sick because they live on alert, because they start each day with fear, tension, and thoughts that weaken them without realizing it. I decided not to live like that. And that decision, made on an ordinary morning, was the first step toward everything that came after. Secret 2. The body is made to move, not to gather dust. They say the human body is designed to move, and I don't just believe it. I have lived it. One of the biggest mistakes I see in people my age is that they start to stop moving. They convince themselves they've done enough, that now they deserve rest. But rest is not sitting all day. That's not rest. That's deterioration. I never went to the gym, never had a personal trainer. I don't have fancy sportswear or watches that count my steps, but I always did something very simple. I moved every day of my life. I walked, climbed stairs, took care of my garden, went on foot to the market, tidied my house, carried the bags. And even if sometimes my back hurt or my legs felt heavy, I never let my body stay still for more than one day. Even now, at 86, if it's raining, I put on a coat and walk under shelter. If it's cold, I move inside the house. If I'm tired, I walk slower. But I walk, because the body that doesn't move is lost. Many believe aging means fragility, but the truth is, fragility starts when we stop using our muscles. You lose muscle mass, balance, leg strength, and then comes the fall. And after the fall, often dependence. But if you keep the body moving, even with small actions, you're training it to resist. Daily movement is the best preventive medicine there is. No pill gives you the balance a daily walk does. No supplement replaces the strength of carrying your own market bags. Look, it's not about running marathons. It's about understanding that the body isn't made to be still. It's made to move with what you have. If you can dance, dance. If you can tend plants, do it. If you can lift your arms even slowly, you're already moving. And that movement, no matter how small, is life. I have a friend, Peter, who at 79 started climbing stairs in his house every day as part of his routine. At first, he could do just one floor, then 2. Now, at 83, he still climbs 3 floors without help. And he tells me, "This is my gym. Here I train so I don't depend on anyone." And he's right, because autonomy is not luck. It's built with habit. And the most powerful habit you can have in old age is to move every day, no excuses. Is it hot? Walk earlier. Is it cold? Move under cover. Does something hurt? Move gently, but don't stop. Because when you stop, that's when the real problem begins. If someone asks me what I do not to get sick, I say it without hesitation. I don't let my body rust. I move it. I respect it. I give it what it needs. And it responds with health, agility, balance. Not perfect, of course, but enough to keep walking through this world without being led by the hand. Secret 3. What I eat is simple, but I eat it mindfully. One of the most common questions I get is, what do you eat to never get sick? And when I answer, some get disappointed. They expect to hear something strange, an exotic superfood, a modern diet, or some secret formula. But the truth is much simpler. I eat real food, and I eat it mindfully. I don't follow extreme diets. Never did. Never weighed my food or eliminated entire food groups. But I learned to know my body and to nourish it instead of just filling it. That was the big change. At home, we cook. Always have. Homemade food, with ingredients I recognize, that I can pronounce, and that come from the earth, not a factory. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, eggs, fish, rice, real bread, a bit of cheese, sometimes meat. Nothing fancy, but all alive. I avoid things that come in boxes with long labels and eternal expiration dates. Because if a food can last 5 years without spoiling, probably your body doesn't really know what to do with it. I also learned to respect schedules. I eat breakfast early, always lunch at the same time, and have a light dinner before dark. Digestion isn't the same after a certain age. If you eat a lot at night, you don't sleep well, don't rest, don't repair. Eating heavily before bed is like asking your body to work when it should be healing. For years, I ate out of anxiety, sometimes without hunger, just out of boredom, habit, or because I saw something tasty and didn't want to waste it. But one day I asked myself, does what I'm eating give me energy or take it away? And that's when I started to change. Not all at once, slowly. I stopped eating until I was full. I started serving smaller portions, chewing slower, savoring the food. Because it's not just about what you eat, but how you eat it. Want to know one detail that changed my relationship with food? Eating without screens, without TV, without distractions. At first it feels strange, but then you understand that this way your body registers the food better. You eat slower, eat less, and your stomach thanks you. You feel lighter, clearer, more awake. One more key: hydration. Most older people I know live dehydrated and don't even know it. They confuse thirst with hunger, and that leads them to eat more and drink less. I always have a glass of water nearby. I don't wait to be thirsty. I drink throughout the day. Plain water. No juices, no sodas, no drinks with strange names. It's not about eliminating pleasures. Sometimes I treat myself. A piece of chocolate, fresh baked bread, a glass of wine at a celebration. But I don't do it from excess or guilt. I do it from choice. And that makes all the difference. In summary, I eat calmly, with gratitude, with awareness. I nourish myself to live, not to fill voids. I don't seek perfection, but consistency. Because a simple, regular, real diet can do more for your health than any pill. That's another one of my secrets. And it's not about what I took away, but what I chose to care for every day. Secret 4. Sleeping well is more important than any vitamin. There's something few people truly value, until they lose it. I mean sleep. Sleeping well. Deep sleep. Peaceful sleep. If someone asked me what has done the most for my health throughout my life, I wouldn't hesitate to say, my rest. Sleeping isn't just closing your eyes. It's not about lying in bed for 8 hours. It's about how you get to that bed, your mental state, what you did during the day, what you didn't do. All that matters. Because true rest begins long before you slip between the sheets. I learned that over the years, and I guard it like gold. First, my body already knows when it's time to start shutting down. I don't eat late. Like I told you, I have a light and early dinner. I don't go to bed with a working stomach. That only interrupts sleep and makes me wake up tired, with digestion half done. I prefer to lie down with a calm body, no unfinished tasks. Second, I avoid screens at night. I don't watch late news. I don't turn on the TV when it's time to be quiet. The mind needs to know the day is ending, that it can start calming down. And if you fill your head with loud images, world problems, or bright screens, it's like shouting at your brain to stay awake. Instead, I have a routine, a very simple one. I close the windows, turn off unnecessary lights, read a few pages of a book. Sometimes I write a little in a notebook, or I simply stay silent, breathing, letting the night wrap around me. It's my way of telling my body, you did what was needed. Now rest. Tomorrow we continue. And it works, because the body, when treated with respect, responds. There are nights I wake before dawn, not because of insomnia, but because I'm already full of energy. My body tells me it rested what it needed, and I get up effortlessly, without headache, without that heaviness many drag from poor sleep. Sleep is much more than a pause. It's when the body repairs, the heart calms, the brain cleans, the immune system strengthens. It's when you heal from what you didn't know was starting. It's the quietest medicine there is. And the funniest thing is, it's free. You don't need to pay for it. Just take care of it. And how do you take care of it? With habits, with consistency, with self-love. Have stable schedules. Don't go to bed with unresolved worries. Avoid arguments before sleep. Leave your phone in another room. Give thanks for the day that passed. All this creates the perfect environment for restorative rest. I've met older people who take supplements, multivitamins, tonics, but sleep badly, go to bed late, wake tired. I, on the other hand, take care of my night like a fragile plant, calmly, patiently, intentionally. And that plant, night after night, has given me health fruits that no pill has offered me. So if today you want to start with something simple to improve your health, don't start in the kitchen. Start with your pillow. Secret 5. Caring for what I think has protected me more than any doctor. If you ask me what has saved me most times in life, even more than good food or exercise, I will tell you without hesitation, my mind. More precisely, the way I choose to think. Because at 86 years old, I've seen something clear. Many people get sick because of what's in their head, not their body. The thoughts you repeat, the stress you don't release, the emotions you keep and never express. All that accumulates like an invisible toxin that eventually takes its toll. It happened to me too. I didn't always know how to handle it. There was a particularly hard time in my life that almost dragged me down. It was when my wife died. We shared over 50 years together, and when she left, I felt my whole world collapse. I was on the edge of a sadness so deep I didn't know if I'd come out. But then her voice appeared in my mind. I didn't know if it was a memory or intuition, but it told me, keep going, walk, don't stay there. And that's what I did. I didn't go to a specialist, though I wouldn't have been ashamed. What I did was what I had at hand. I went out to walk alone every morning without fail. I didn't talk to anyone, just walked, breathed, observed, felt the sun, the wind, the neighborhood sounds. And in that silence, little by little, my mind calmed down. It wasn't about forgetting the pain. It was about not letting it control me. Then I started writing. I didn't know why exactly, but every night before sleeping, I wrote in a notebook how I felt. I showed it to no one, but writing helped me understand my emotions, release them. Many times thoughts repeat like a wheel that never stops, and putting them on paper is like the brain letting go of control. I also learned to observe my thoughts as if they were clouds. Not everything I think is true. Not everything I feel is permanent. Today I'm sad. Tomorrow maybe not. Today I worry about something. But can I really do anything about it? If yes, I act. If no, I let it go. Easier said than done, I know, but with practice it becomes natural. Another thing that's helped me is limiting contact with negative people. At a certain age, you're not here for draining conversations, endless complaints, dramas that aren't yours. I choose who I share my energy with, not out of selfishness but for health, because I've seen what resentment does, what anger-filled thoughts kept for years do. I've seen people who can't forgive and get sick, people who live in the past and fade away, and I decided not to be one of them. My mind is a garden. Sometimes weeds sprout that I don't want, but I choose whether to water them or not, whether to let them grow or pull them out by the root. And that, I assure you, has protected me more times than any doctor. Today, I feel at peace. And not because everything in my life is perfect. It's because I've learned to think in ways that strengthen me, not destroy me. That, dear friend, is one of my greatest secrets. Secret 6. The people around me are my best medicine. There's something not sold in pharmacies that no doctor can prescribe, but that has immense healing power. The the company of people who do you good. I don't mean having people around just for the sake of it. I mean real, sincere relationships that make you want to live, talk, move, take care of yourself. For years, I believed being physically well was enough to be healthy. But over time, I understood emotional health is just as important. And in my case, one of the biggest protectors of my health has been being surrounded by people with good energy. I have a rule. If someone brings me more bitterness than joy, I distance myself, no matter if it's a friend, neighbor, even family, because toxicity, even if unseen, gets into your skin, your mood, your body. And with age, you don't have much margin to waste energy on relationships that only subtract. I remember a time when a close relative called me every day, and each conversation was a storm of complaints, criticism, gossip, old reproaches. At first, I tried to listen, to be patient, but I started noticing I hung up more tired than before. I got headaches. My body felt tense, until one day I said, "This isn't love. This is punishment." And I started to mark distance, not with hatred, but with respect for myself. On the other hand, there are people who are like vitamins. You don't need to see them every day, but every time you do, they lift your spirits, make you laugh, listen without judging. That's medicine too. I'll tell you something. A few years ago, I fell. I tripped on the sidewalk while walking alone and was for a few days unable to move freely. My legs hurt, and my confidence hit the floor. I was considering quitting my daily walks. I thought, I'm too old to be out here alone. But it was my neighbor George who changed my mind. He's 5 years younger and has an eternal smile. One afternoon he knocked and said, "Mr. Ernesto, tomorrow I'll pick you up. We'll walk 15 minutes, nothing more." He didn't ask if I wanted to. He just offered. And so we started. First 15 minutes, then 20, then half an hour. With him beside me, I felt less fear, more will. And it wasn't just exercise, it was conversation. We talked about books, music, politics, life. I started walking again, yes, but also started feeling alive again. That taught me loneliness isn't always being without people, but being without connection. You can live with family and feel alone. You can have hundreds of contacts in your phone, but no one to open your heart to. That's why I care for my relationships like I care for a plant. I water them with time, attention, sincere words. And if I see something starting to wither, I ask myself, is it worth saving, or is it time to let go? The people around me don't heal me with pills. They heal me with their presence, with their laughter, with their affection. They heal me with shared coffee, quiet walks, unhurried talks. And I leave you this phrase I always repeat. Loneliness dims your soul. I take care not to be alone inside. Secret 7. I never stopped having a reason to live. Sometimes people ask me if I don't get tired of getting up every day, following the routine, living without novelties anymore. They say, "Mr. Ernesto, you've lived so long, aren't you bored?" And I always answer the same. The day I don't have a reason to get up, that day I do get sick. I don't mean big goals. I don't need to climb a mountain or write a famous book. I mean those small, everyday reasons that give meaning to my existence. Because it doesn't matter if you're 30 or 86. If you don't have a purpose, you fade inside. I found many purposes throughout my life. Some lasted years, others just weeks. But they all taught me the same. When you have something that excites you, the body cooperates. Pain hurts less. Tiredness weighs less. The heart beats with more will. For example, a few years ago I started writing letters. Not emails, not text messages. Handwritten letters, with paper, ink, soul. I send them to my grandchildren. Sometimes I tell them stories from when I was young. Other times I simply write what I feel for them. And the curious thing is, over time, they started writing back. Not often, not with long phrases, but with affection. And that, for me, is fuel. I also like planting flowers. I'm not a professional gardener, far from it. but I have a small balcony that fills with color every spring. I like to see how something grows with my care, how something responds to my attention. There's a flower I planted the day after my wife's funeral. I call it Clara's flower, and every time it blooms, I feel she's smiling at me from somewhere. And then there's something that changed me completely. Teaching. Not in a school, but from my table at home. My youngest granddaughter, Lucy, asked me to teach her old-fashioned handwriting. I thought she'd get bored in 5 minutes, but no. She sat, listened, practiced, and now every Sunday, she comes with her notebook. She says, "Grandpa, correct me. I want to get it perfect." And inside, I feel useful again. See? It's not about big feats. It's about feeling valuable, having something to care for, something to create, something to wait for. Because if every day is the same as the last, if there's no surprise, no excitement, routine becomes a prison, especially in old age. I've seen people retire and lose purpose. They turn off the alarm, turn off their will, turn off their body, and in a few months, they age more than in the previous 10 years. I made myself a promise. I will not live just to pass time. I will live to feel that time is worth it. Even if it's to wait for a friend's visit, to care for a plant, to write a few lines, to say out loud what I don't want to forget. Because as long as I have a reason, even a small one, to get up with intention, I know I'll keep living. Not just breathing, but living with an awake soul. Secret 8. My relationship with fear changed my health forever. If you ask me what was one of the biggest changes I made in my life to preserve my health, I tell you without hesitation, I learned not to live from fear. And don't think it was easy. Fear is cunning. It disguises itself as caution, common sense, better safe than sorry. But the truth is, if you don't control it, it eats you inside. For a while, especially after 70, I became hypervigilant. I was afraid of slipping, getting sick, being alone, my heart failing while I slept. I started avoiding stairs, not going out when it rained, saying no to invitations, just in case. And what I discovered is that living with fear doesn't protect you. It paralyzes you. I remember one night in particular. I woke up with a strong pain in my chest. It wasn't unbearable, but it was strange. I thought the worst. Here comes the heart attack, I told myself. I sat down, took a deep breath, and felt anxiety squeeze me harder than the pain itself. I called emergency services. They came quickly and checked me. The diagnosis? Anxiety, muscle tension. Nothing serious. They sent me home and recommended rest. But what mattered wasn't the diagnosis. It was what happened in my head afterward. That night I understood something. I was getting sick from fearing getting sick so much. Fear was like an alarm always on. It didn't let me rest, didn't let me enjoy. And the body, poor body, suffered. Since then, I made a conscious change. I promised myself not to live with fear at the center. Of course, I'm still careful. I'm not reckless, but I no longer let fear take the wheel, because when it does, it makes you a slave. I'll tell you another story. A friend of mine, Rose, was terrified of falling. She moved with extreme caution, almost like a robot. She stopped going out alone, stopped dancing, stopped walking in her garden. Her world kept shrinking, and one day, she fell. In her own house, in the kitchen, where she felt safest. It wasn't a serious fall, but the hardest blow was emotional. She had given up living to avoid something that happened anyway. That made it clear to me that fear alone prevents nothing, but it takes a lot from you. I started asking myself, what would I do today if I weren't afraid?
Who would I talk to? Where would I go? What things would I try?
And little by little I regained freedom. I started moving more, trusting my body, saying yes to small risks with big rewards. The result? More joy, more movement, more oxygen, and curiously, fewer symptoms. There's a phrase I learned and repeat when fear tries to sneak into my day. Fear is disease's best friend. Because fear tenses you, isolates you, shuts you down. And a tense, isolated, shut-down body gets sick more easily. Today, when fear appears, I listen, thank it, but I don't obey. I say, thank you for warning me, but today I choose to live. And if you feel fear of getting sick, aging, dying, I understand. It's human. But don't let that fear steal your present. Because while you worry about what might happen, real life happens without you. Now that you've heard all this, I want to be honest with you.
I don't have a secret. I don't have a magic formula or miracle pill.
What I have are decisions, small decisions, sometimes silent, but ones I made every day for many years. I wasn't stronger than anyone. I wasn't wiser. I was consistent. And that consistency, sometimes boring, sometimes invisible, is what brought me here, at 86 years old, with intact health and an awake soul. Each of the secrets I shared with you in this video isn't really a secret. Start the day with intention, without mental noise. Move the body with respect and gratitude. Choose foods that nourish instead of just fill. Sleep as if your life depended on it, because it actually does. Protect your relationships like a garden. Care for them, prune them, nourish them. Keep the mind awake, curious, hungry to learn. Hold on to a reason to get up, no matter how small. And don't let fear dictate the rhythm of your days. Each of these decisions isn't made once and done. They are made every day. Sometimes enthusiastically, sometimes tiredly, but always with the awareness that each choice is a way to care for this body that accompanies me and this mind that still wants to understand the world. I'm not special. I don't have perfect genes or a life without pain. I lost people I loved, went through difficult stages, faced loneliness, uncertainty, long silences. But I never let those things define me. What defines me is how I chose to respond to them. And if you've made it this far, if you've listened to my story, it's because you're also searching. Maybe health, maybe peace, maybe a spark to remind you that you can still build something with the years you have ahead. So let me tell you something, heart to heart. It's never too late to start. Never too late to make a change, to review your habits, to recover your joy, your movement, your curiosity. Never too late to truly live. Today, at my age, I don't seek to live forever. I just seek that each day finds me truly alive. Eager to see the sunrise, write a letter, smell a flower, laugh with someone, or simply give thanks that I'm still here. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these secrets did you identify with? What part of this video touched something inside you? What habit would you like to start changing from today? Tell me in the comments. I would love to read you. It makes me feel accompanied. And if this video left you something valuable, share it. With a friend, a child, a sister. Maybe what was inspiration for you can be an opportunity for someone else to start anew.
Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet.
Every week we share reflections, stories and advice to age with dignity, wisdom and purpose.
And if you turn on the bell, you make sure you don't miss anything.
Thank you for staying until the end.